Hey, what's up YouTubers, and welcome back to the Toddy Walnuts channel. Thank you for tuning in. I always do appreciate that. Today we're going to do another bin dive. We're going to go through and check out, I believe these are all DVDs in here. We're going to stay with that for, I think I'll record 2 videos this weekend. We'll see how that goes. But get yourself relaxed, comfortable. I'm joined again by the lovely ladies, Miss Hannah and Miss Heidi. Let's take a look at some of these old DVDs. Okay, so this is part 4 of the tote diving, and just like the first 3, I'm just going to randomly pull from this tote. There's no rhyme or reason as to why I'm showing in this particular order. I'm just going to kind of show a handful. It seems like you guys are enjoying this for the most part, and I do appreciate your views and your comments. The first one here is called Evil in the Bayou, starring the voluptuous Stephanie Beaton. It's a low budget, kind of a sexploitation or Satan type movie, sacrifice movie, satanic worship, voodoo. Put out by Silver Moon Productions and released by Razor Digital. The next one here is called The Farm. It says, Derry McNabb has crafted a magnificent indie horror, gripping and highly enjoyable. I know that I watched this, but I don't really remember anything about it. It's another release from Brain Damage Films. You may recognize that name. They do release a lot of low-budget, shot-on-video movies. I think this is a Irish movie. Let me see here. Mickey and Juliet, a young couple on the run from a vicious gang of drug dealers, arrive at a deserted farm in the Irish countryside near Cork. Some of these movies you probably never heard of before, and there's probably a pretty good reason for that. They're not very well received, or there's not like a large production of these movies. But I enjoy to have these in my collection. Some of these are pretty rare. This one's called The Boogeyman. This is the original 1980 version, and it also does come with Return of the Boogeyman. These are pretty good movies. I enjoy them. Comes on a flipper disc. Not much else to it. There's no chapter insert or booklet or anything. I have all of these on DVD, and I think I have some of these on Blu-ray, but this is a really good series. I enjoyed this, especially the first couple. It got pretty repetitive, but I thought the first couple were very good, very well done. It was kind of new at the time. Kind of a new concept to a movie. How about You Can't Cheat Death? This is one of the old snapper cases. It comes with kind of like a little gatefold on the inside, very like a metallic foil type cover. It's really nice. Although I don't really care much for the snapper cases. This one's actually pretty cool. The next one is called Beast Within. It says Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds meets Outbreak. This movie is very similar to Zombie 5, The Killing Birds. This was put out by Lionsgate in 2009. This was actually a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. Let me pull this pile a little bit closer. So this one is called Exorcism. Obviously it's a low budget kind of take on The Exorcist. It kind of felt like a Hellraiser type movie too. It had pretty good practical effects, pretty good latex masks and body parts and stuff. And this movie came out in 2005. I don't remember where I got this. I think it was at a thrift shop. There's the disc. Here's a movie called Sanitarium. This one comes with a pretty nice slipcover. There's a pretty nice cast. Malcolm McDowell, you got Lou Diamond Phillips, Robert Englund, and Lacey Chabert. It's pretty fun to see Lacey Chabert in a horror movie, because I think these days she's doing just a lot of like the Hallmark movies. She does a lot of, especially Christmas time, she does a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies. Very, very nice looking woman. This was put out by Image and RLJ Enterprises, or Entertainment. Let me see if I can see when this was put out. 2013 this came out. Probably has a Blu-ray release by now, but at this point, 10 years ago, I was still buying, I still buy DVDs today too. I actually just ordered some DVDs on the internet like a day or two ago. So this is the original release of Clown House. This is a very, I guess, controversial movie. Not going to get into why, but if you Google search Clown House and the director of this movie, there's some pretty disgusting things that you'll read. I'm not going to mention any of it here on the channel, but this has a very small release because this movie was pulled due to criminal activities, we'll call it, from the director. And the movie was pulled from shelves, so it's pretty rare. But with that said, this has been bootlegged more than any DVD, I think, in history. So if you have this movie, there's a good chance it's a bootleg, but this is actually the original. I changed it out, put it into a red case. The original one came in a black case. This movie came out in 1990. And if you want to know a little bit more about it, I'm sure most of you guys do. This is not a secret. Everybody knows about it. It's the same guy who directed the original Jeepers Creepers and Jeepers Creepers 2. The guy's name is Victor Salva. Just Google him. But I recommend that you don't Google him after you eat because you'll probably vomit. This guy is a disgusting pig. But if you separate the art from the artist, you can still enjoy movies like this, even though the guy's a complete scumbag. The next one is called Tale of the Mummy. This is Russell Mulcahy's movie. Curse is legend. The adventure is real. I love some of these kind of low-budget mummy type movies. These are really good. I had a good time with this one. Let me see if I can see when it was released. It doesn't say on the back. This one came from Suburban Video. I'm pretty sure I got this on eBay. I don't know anything about Suburban Video. It wasn't in my area. And then it just comes with the chapter menu here on the insert. Why are you fighting me? There we go. Tale of the Mummy. Here is Troll and Troll 2 on DVD. I also do have this on Blu-ray. This is the MGM double feature. And I grew up watching these movies on VHS tape. They're pretty fun movies. They're low budget, but they're not as bad as people say they are. This would be a good, I guess, it's already a twin billing, Troll and Troll 2, but it would make for a good marathon night if you include Labyrinth. I think would be a good third movie to put in with that. Here's a good little creature feature, killer bugs movie called Creepy Crawlies. There's the guy that played on, let me see, what was his name? Dean Stockwell. He played on Quantum Leap, which was a great television show. This movie is a good kind of a drive-in style movie, but it's a PG-13 movie, so you don't really get too much. I mean, it's okay, I guess. And this one's called The Ferryman. A life vest won't save your soul. Kind of a take on the river Styx, I guess. Charon, who would take people from the land of the living across the river Styx to the land of the dead. It's that same type of movie. It's not based on that movie, but it kind of borrows from that. And it's a really nice cover, too. Further back you get, it looks like a skull with a nose and mouth. And then you realize it's just clouds in the sailboat. It's pretty cool. Another little pile here. This is the 3-disc set of Silent Night, Deadly Night. You get part 3, 4, and 5 on this set. I also do have the first 2. I believe it was put out by Anchor Bay. You get Silent Night, Deadly Night 1 and 2 on that set, which is pretty, it was rare for a while, but these have been released on Blu-ray now. At least the first 2 have. So you get part 3, Better Watch Out, part 4, Initiation, and part 5, The Toy Maker. This was not put out by Anchor Bay. These are all in the full screen aspect 4:3. So they're not in the anamorphic widescreen. And they all come on their own swing trays, so there's no stacking or doubling up per disc, which I always enjoy. And these are not great movies by any stretch of the imagination, but they're fun to watch, you know, this time of year, October, November, December. I like to watch a lot of these holiday-themed horror movies. Really, really low-budget creature feature film called Creature from the Haunted Sea. Calling this a cult classic. It was directed by Roger Corman. This is a really old release of it. This was one of the first, I guess, kind of DVD releases way back in the day. The movie itself is from 1961. They're calling this a comedy horror. It looks like it's kind of in that sepia tone. Sepia, however you pronounce that. Kind of that bronze. Instead of black and white, it's kind of like that, like tans and darks. I guess there's really nothing else to say about this. They're calling it classic black and white, but if you look at the stills, you get that sepia. Is that how you pronounce that? Sepia. It's a pretty nice cover, though. I don't remember anything about this movie at all, other than Nicolette Sheridan, who she's a doll. She's a babe. Wasn't she in that show Desperate Housewives with what was her name? Terry Hatcher, I believe. It's really good-looking women in that show. This was put up by a company called Fremantle Media. I don't know anything about them. This movie's probably pretty terrible. 1994 this came out. But I just wanted to show this kind of stuff because you may never see this. I'm sure probably most of you don't even own this or are even aware of it, but I'll try to show you guys something new here on the channel. There's another great cover called Tower of Blood. Yeah, that skull kind of at the bottom of the building there. Put up by a company called Genius Entertainment. Get ready for a high-rise bloodbath From what year did this come out? I'm not seeing a year at the bottom down here. It's very, very small printing. Next one is called The Fear Chamber. The next pile that I put up on the bed, they're going to be better titles. I'm just kind of getting warm here. This was put up by Echo Bridge. It's a 2010 movie. It looks pretty awful. It's a serial killer movie being tracked down in Los Angeles. And it looks like he murders women for their organs. So they're chasing, the LA detectives are chasing this serial killer who's harvesting organs from women. Here's the unrated edition of Flight of the Living Dead, Outbreak on a Plane. As ridiculous as that title sounds, this was actually a pretty good movie. I liked it. The tagline was, at 30,000 feet, there's nowhere to run. But this was pretty good, though. I liked it. Again, it was different. I like it when there's not a cookie cutter type release. You know, it's a fresh idea. This was put out by New Line Cinema. And this isn't that old compared to some of the other ones I showed. I think this was probably 2010-ish or so. Maybe a little bit earlier than that. 2007 it is. 2007 that came out. And the last one for this little pile is called Three Blind Mice, starring Edward Furlong. I always enjoy his movies. I think he's a great actor. I wish he would do more. But he's been in some great roles. He's a really good actor. I'd like to meet him someday. I think he'd be a pretty cool dude to hang out with. This is a movie from 2002. So this is one of those movies that kind of deals with the internet, kind of the early years of the internet. And he is a computer programmer, and he witnesses a murder on a live feed, a live stream. So he was the only witness to the murder, and he actually becomes the suspect. So you got to check it out to see how that gets resolved. I'm going to pause it here, get something to drink, and we will pull another pile of movies on the bed. So the next one here is an Italian import called Camping del Terror. The English title is called Body Count, and for the longest time this did not have an official DVD release, so I had to import this one. This is actually a really good movie, very underrated. I never hear anybody talk about this movie, and it's a slasher film. They get picked off one by one at a campground. It's pretty good. I'd be interested to hear if any of you ever saw this before. The next one, I got a little stack up here. Once we get through with this one, I'm going to end the video, and then if you guys are interested to see another one, I still have a bunch of stuff I can go through. Just let me know in the comments or give it a thumbs up, and if there's enough interest, I'll do another one. This one is hosted or narrated by Boris Karloff, called The Emperor's Nightingale. This is a stop motion movie. This was put out by Apprehensive Films. I don't know if they're in existence anymore. You can try the grindhouse.net. I have quite a few of stuff that they released. So this was a Larry Scholl's Midnight Matinee. Legendary Hollywood storyboard artist Larry Scholl handpicks a wild selection of films both for kids and adults alike. These movies are great to share with your children on a Saturday morning, or are off-kilter enough to enjoy with your adult friends on a late Saturday night. Kind of rare. I mean, nobody really ever released this before, other than Apprehensive. This would make a good Blu-ray release, I think, from Vinegar Syndrome or somebody like that. The Emperor's Nightingale. I think they would introduce a whole new audience to this movie. The next one here is Dread Time Stories 2-pack. You get Decoys and Decoys the Second Seduction. These are kind of, I would kind of consider these like a Species kind of ripoff, but they're not nearly as good. But this is a nice little 2-pack. I got this for a couple bucks at a thrift shop. Here's another type of a zombie outbreak from a bird disease. This one's called Flu Birds. Some of these movies are pretty good. Here's one called Dead Above Ground, starring Antonio Sabato Jr. And this is probably another movie that most people never heard of before. Here's a movie that Vinegar Syndrome has released. This is called The Fear. Vinegar Syndrome gave it a really nice Blu-ray release with a beautiful slipcover. It's a pretty good movie. There you can see one of the monsters. It says a Halloween party in the country turns into a horrifying blood fest when the teenage guests are murdered one by one. So it's another type of movie that we've seen that formula before, but it still works, and we still love to go back and watch these. Now here, this is a good one. This was another movie that for many, many years only had a VHS release. I probably had this DVD for 20 years, I would guess, 15 maybe. And this is The Town That Dreaded Sundown. And this was the only way you could watch it on DVD. It was a fan-made edition, a really beautiful edition. And it looked really nice. And Vinegar Syndrome, oh no, I'm sorry, not Vinegar Syndrome, Scream Factory released this as a DVD Blu-ray combo, and it looks beautiful. I got Vinegar Syndrome on my brain, but Scream Factory did a really beautiful edition of this movie, but I'll never get rid of this. This is a piece of art, in my opinion, even though it's not official, but for the longest time, this was the only way you could watch it on DVD. Fan made. Here's some low budget. I think this is Wild Eye. There's a bunch of these movies. Ouija Geist. There's a bunch of movies that have the Ouija formula. Here is a serial killer movie based on the Bind, Torture, Kill Killer, BTK, Dennis Rader. Based on the true story of one of the history's most twisted serial killers. I find these movies to be pretty interesting, and I'm very fascinated by the whole true crime genre, and I find myself watching hours of this a week on YouTube. There's some really good channels out there. Here's Camp Dread, starring Eric Roberts and Danielle Harris. Comes with this nice slipcover. This was put up by Image Entertainment. And always love seeing Danielle Harris in movies. And I have a new respect for Eric Roberts, even though I think he's an okay actor. But during the pandemic that we had in 2019, 2020, he was giving free autographs to people who wrote to him. You can send in any item, a movie or what have you, and he would send it back for free. He would sign stuff. So I have a new respect for Eric Roberts. He, of course, is the brother of Julia Roberts. And I think he's an okay actor, but It's always fun to watch Danielle Harris, though. She's such a cutie. Here's another mummy movie, and I really love these type of movies. Even though some of these are trash, they're still fun to watch. This one has Danny Glover in it. I don't see him on the cover, though. This one's called Day of the Mummy. A lot of CGI in this movie. Here's Danny. Another movie by Image Entertainment. Here's one of the best classics, at least in my opinion. This is one of my favorites. This is the original Reanimator. This is the Millennium Edition. This is in the Fat Pack. Love the colors of this. That chartreuse and black. It looks really, really good together. Plus, in this edition, you get over 6 hours of bonus materials that come on a separate disc. This was put out by Elite Entertainment. So in disc 1 there you can see you get the movie. It's anamorphic widescreen. It looks beautiful. And then for disc 2 you get all these interviews and extended scenes, deleted scenes, trailers, biographies, behind the scenes. Beautiful. And it comes with a chapter card there. Really great stuff. Reanimator. I have VHS 2. I also have VHS 1, but like I said, I'm just pulling randomly, so there's no order to this. These movies are okay. I thought they could have been a little bit better. But again, it was a nice new idea. It was a fresh idea. This one comes with a nice slipcover. It's embossed. I don't know if you can see that, but each of the black lines, the black bars here are raised. It's pretty good. You can feel that there, the black hash marks in between. And these are basically anthology movies, short clips of many different stories. First one was really good. This one dropped off a little bit, but it was still pretty good. It was enjoyable. This is a good movie right around Halloween time from the director of My Bloody Valentine. This is called Trick. Another slipcover. It's got some good people in here. It's got Omar Epps, who was in Juice and many other movies. You got Jamie Kennedy, he's always a fan favorite. The great Tom Atkins. There's Omar. There's Tom Atkins. This also has a Blu-ray release, which I do have as well, but I'm just showing DVDs today. Here's another Halloween type movie. This is called Pumpkins. You Reap What You Sow. It's a great cover. I was thinking this was Wild Eye, but it's not. Let me see here. Who put this out? Oops. High Octane. Right there's the logo for High Octane, in case you're curious about that. So you get 2 DVDs. You get one DVD that has the movie, and you get a bonus DVD that has a music video and some other bonus materials. And this movie came out in 2018. And I probably got this at a Dollar Tree. Here's a movie I picked up about 10 years ago from the main actress in this movie, Elska McCain. You guys may remember her. This was her big role as Jessica Rabbit. And she signed it there, XO, Elska McCain. And there was also, I don't remember who else. The other, I guess, Elska McCain and the other young lady who helped to produce it. I'm not even sure if that says Sissany Oliver. I'm not sure. I probably butchered that. But that was her big role. And I'm not going to say any more about Elska. She has kind of a troubled life, and I'm just going to move on. This was another movie that I helped to crowdfund. That's Mike O. Mahoney, the director. He also played Sloppy the Psychotic. This was his character. This was his movie, and he starred in it. I have some stuff signed by him, too. This was a movie from 2012. That's the director right there, Mike O. Mahoney. Very, very low budget clown movie. Here's another low buck operation. This is called The Girl in the Crawl Space. Kind of another masked killer movie. I don't know who put this movie out. It came out in 2018. It's so low budget it doesn't even have a distributor. What the heck's wrong with me? ITN distribution? I'm not familiar. Gonna pause it here, get some raspberry tea, and we'll keep moving. The next one was sent to me several years ago by the owner and proprietor of Cult Epics, Nico B., a good friend of mine. He actually sent me this this is a limited edition. He signed it. This is called Pig. It's a film by Nico B. and Roz Williams. Roz Williams was a musician who passed away at a very young age, and he put a little sticker in there that says special number, and he gave me number 1666 out of 2000. I thought that was pretty cool. So this does have a Blu-ray release by now, and let me see if I can tell you a little bit about Roz Williams, because I never really listened to his music, but he was also an artist as well. Just a brief synopsis here. It says Pig, a film depicting the relationship between a killer, Roz Williams, and his victim, James Holland, where all lines are crossed, blending fantasy and reality. This poetic film is a transformation of the subconscious mind of a killer, graphically showing the manifestation of itself into abstract forms and material, all deriving from his suffering and desperation. It's the debut underground short film by Dutch-born Nico B. Pig was the last project of Roz Williams, writer, artist, musician, formerly known from the rock group Christian Death, amongst others. I know he does have music here on YouTube. I've looked it up before, but I don't really know anything about his band or any of the music or anything. But you get a 40-page booklet with this as well, and you get all these bonus features. It's a pretty heavy set. I'm sure you could probably find these on eBay if you're interested. Here is a 2-disc limited edition for the Driller Killer, Abel Ferrara movie. The blood runs in rivers, the drill keeps drilling. This was a pretty decent slasher from the early 80s. I'm sorry, it was 1979. I was off by a little bit. Now it's saying 1977 up here. So it was limited to 10,000, but I don't know how many it was limited to. I'm not sure why that was blacked out by marker. I didn't do that. I don't know if that was... I don't even remember where I got this from. But this is a very low budget slasher film. It takes place in the inner city. This has a very creepy atmosphere to it. Just the grungy, filthy inner city at night. And there's killers roaming. It's a pretty cool feel when you're watching a horror movie like this. It leaves you uneasy and creeped out. And I believe this was filmed in New York, but I could be wrong about that. And so this is a 2-disc set. You get the Driller Killer movie from Cult Epics, the same company that Nico B operates. And then you get the early short films of Abel Ferrara. And you get, let me see if I can zoom in for you guys here. Could This Be Love from 1973, The Hold Up, 1972, and Nicky's Film, 1971. And you also get a little chapter card here. Let's see. It's a little booklet. Let me pull this out. Kind of like a little leaflet, a 3-page fold out. Talks a little bit about the DVD and the movie, and there's the chapter selection there. pretty nice little addition here. I love this. The Driller Killer. Here's the Frankenstein Theory. This was a pretty cool creature feature, kind of a modern day monster movie. I liked it. Comes with this lenticular cover, slip cover. It doesn't change the image, it just kind of shows the 3D depth, although I don't think you're going to be able to see it through my phone. It looks way better in person. It has kind of a, almost looks like a Yeti with the snow in the background. You can see the horrifying face of the Frankenstein. And I've mentioned before that I really do love the movies that take place in like a wintry, snowy, icy setting. It just gives it kind of an extra uneasy feeling. This was put out by Image. And this movie came out in 2013. Here's another take on a zombie movie called Infected. Diagnosis Extinction, where the military was sent in to try to rescue survivors and battle hordes of the undead. It's put up by RLJ and Image. It's a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. Here's some low-budget goodness from my neck of the woods. The Creature from Lake Michigan. I literally live a stone's throw away from Lake Michigan. And I think this is more or less a comedy horror with emphasis on comedy and foolishness, and it's really not that good. This does have a Blu-ray release too. I think Arrow Video released this on Blu-ray, which I also own. But unless you have ties to Lake Michigan or anything like that, I'm sure you probably won't care about this movie. It's not that good. Here's a movie I picked up at FYE a few years ago. It's called Sideshow. Kind of a monster circus freaks movie put out by Full Moon. Pretty good splatter film. Has a low budget practical effects, rubber suits, rubber masks, lots of fake blood. I have a little twin billing here of some Japanese horror, the J horror. I have Pulse and Sick Nurses. I believe Pulse has a remake, I think, that was more of an English remake, I think. This was put out by Magnet. But these are both in Japanese language. And actually, Sick Nurses, you can watch it in Thai or English. And for Pulse, it's Japanese only, but you can watch both with English or Spanish subtitles. Pulse is from 2001, and Sick Nurses is from 2007. That's a twin billing there. And then I also do have a standalone release of Pulse, also known as Cairo in Japan. It's a Kiyoshi Kurosawa film. It says the scariest film of the year from 2001. Here is the DVD of 976 Evil. Sure you guys remember this movie. I remember seeing it on HBO when I was a kid. It was on all the time on HBO back in the day, back in the 80s. Here's a creature feature monster movie called Ape. You can watch it in 3D, apparently. You watch it in 2D or 3D. It says, with an unleashed fury that knows no bounds, a gargantuan ape terrorizes the countryside. Who will have the courage to stand in its path of incredible chaos and destruction? with an unsuspecting and terrifying beauty, calm this monstrous beast. So you definitely tell they're trying to kind of recreate kind of a King Kong type movie. Bring in a beautiful woman to maybe soothe the savage beast. Here's a pretty fun movie called The Willies. There you can see the cast. Comes with a free music CD. This was put out by Echo Bridge. The Willies comes in kind of this fat pack. So in one case here you get the movie The Willies, and then the second one you get the CD called Scary Sounds of the Night. This is a pretty fun movie to watch during the Halloween season, or any time really. And of course you may recognize Samwise, Sean Astin. He's always a fun actor to watch. I always enjoy his movies. He was in The Goonies. Mikey. Here's a movie from Dimension Extreme called Broken. Very violent, very gory movie. This is the unrated edition. Comes with this slipcover. It shows the wound, and you can actually open up the wound and reveal a very bloody opening with a razor blade inside. And that should give you an indication right there of what kind of movie this is. And it's not for the squeamish. I recommend, if you watch a movie like this, don't do it after you eat. And make sure that I have a hard time watching movies like this, even though I know it's fake. But I mean, they really get pretty graphic in these movies. Here's one called Asylum Days, starring C. Thomas Howell. I like the movies that take place in insane asylums and nut houses like that. I think they're really good. It adds to the creepiness of the movie. There's C. Thomas Howell, and this movie came out in 2003. For special features, they have the director's commentary and a trailer. Here's a rare ticket. This one was always very pricey, and there was a lot of bootlegs of this one too. This is Begotten. And the only way to really know that you have an official release is to get the booklet on the inside, because even the bootlegs had this sticker on top. I mean, they really went all out to get the bootlegs of this. This is an original. This is an authentic one. The film itself came out in 1989, but this DVD came out in 2001. It's a black and white kind of a fantasy horror. And there's the disc. It's silver, which means it was an official pressed disc. The ones that are burned, the ones that are fake, are purple. And then the ones that are fake didn't come with a booklet, and this comes with the booklet. I don't know if these are still hard to find or if they're still expensive, but for a long time, this was probably one of the hardest DVDs to track down. This was a bucket list buy for a lot of people. For me, I didn't really chase it. When I found it for a good price, I think I ended up only paying like $30 for this, $30. But I've seen this movie go for 100, 120, in that range. Next one is Phantasm 2. This is Anchor Bay, UK. This is the UK release of it. Phantasm 2, The Ball is Back. That's a great cover. Look at that. These are pretty fun movies. These have better releases by now. There's a beautiful box set that Arrow Video released, which I do own on Blu-ray. Comes with the sphere, the ball, and inside the sphere houses the DVDs. Everybody loves Angus Scrimm, the tall man. What a creepy character. This was the original DVD release of Dawn of the Dead from Anchor Bay. This was the special DiviMax edition. They also released a really beautiful box set, which I showed in a previous video for my box set collection, but I'll never get rid of any of these. I very, very rarely get rid of movies in my collection. Even if I have doubles or upgrades, I keep all this stuff because I'm a collector. That's what I do. Everybody knows the movie. There's really nothing to say about this movie. It's Romero's masterpiece. Comes with the chapter card on the inside. Dawn of the Dead. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say bad things about this movie. It's great. Here is the remake of Michele Soavi's Stage Fright. I believe it was Michele Soavi, wasn't it? I could be wrong about that. It's hard to keep track of all the movies and all the directors, but this was the remake. The original is a very good masked killer slasher. I haven't watched this one yet, but I do plan to. It's put up by Magnet. It said it's a cross between Glee and Sleepaway Camp. This one has Meatloaf in it, so you know it's got to be great. Now, I was never really a Meatloaf fan. I didn't really care for his music or anything like that. I do enjoy a Meatloaf dinner, but that's about it. If anybody has seen this, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. I doubt that it's anywhere near the original, but here is Carrie on DVD with a lenticular cover. Let's see if we can get that full effect here. You can see how everything's on fire behind Sissy Spacek. This is a lenticular slipcover, obviously. Really beautiful edition. The movie's okay. I mean, it's okay. Here's another lenticular cover. This is Day of the Dead, The Need to Feed, starring Ving Rhames and Nick Cannon, Mina Savari. This one shows a zombie retching, regurgitating whatever it was he was eating. Looks like there's an eyeball in there and some who knows what else. It's pretty gross, but it's a cool cover. Day of the Dead, The Need to Feed. I don't remember which part this is. I know that there was a couple of really bad remakes of, not remakes, but sequels to Day of the Dead. And this was just one of those. And this one came out in 2007. Here's another Stephanie Beaton movie, that redhead, voluptuous redhead. This is Eyes of the Werewolf. Ultra razor thin budget for these movies. There's a movie called Dawn of the Living Dead, and all you have to do is see that Todd Bridges is in the movie, and you'll know what kind of movie it is. Todd Bridges played Willis in Different Strokes. See if we can see him on the back here. But this is just foolishness. It says when a young couple inherits ownership to an abandoned California property, they decide to make it the home of their dreams. Little do they know, but fate has delivered them a nightmare in the form of an army of undead zombies. Their dream house is set atop an ancient burial ground, cursed by an evil Mayan ritual killing. 2006. Dawn of the Living Dead. What you talking about, Willis? Here's another slipcover. I didn't really care much for this movie. I watched this with my daughter, my oldest daughter, a few years back now. She really enjoyed it, but I didn't care much for it. Matter of fact, I don't really remember too much. I do remember we watched it together. It's a romance comedy zombie film called The Dead Inside. I tried to like it. It just wasn't my thing, but maybe you'll like it. You can see it's kind of ridiculous, but that is Larry Fessenden. You guys may recognize him. Let me see. Am I right? Is that Larry Fessenden? It looks like him, but I'm not sure. Now that I'm looking at the names down here, I don't see his name on there. I'd have to do more research, but that does look like Larry Fessenden, but now that I'm looking again, I don't think it is. But that's a pretty cool slipcover, though, if nothing else. Here's another creature feature, kind of a cryptid. Looks like it's a killer squid, killer octopus called Eye of the Beast. Goes with the slipcover. There's James Van Der Beek. He played in Dawson's Creek, and he played in that football movie about 10 years or so ago. Other than that, I don't know much about James Van Der Beek, but I do like creature feature films, and that's a pretty gory cover. Fear Runs Deep. A few years ago, I picked this up. I believe it was on diabolicdvd.com. And this is a shot on video. It was shot on VHS by really young kids. It's called The Violence Movie. This is the special edition. It comes with The Violence Movie and The Violence Movie Part 2. And it's a horror parody. I talked about this on my channel once before. These kids, I think it was two brothers and couple of their friends that lived in the neighborhood when they were growing up. They were kind of, how do I say this? They were very savvy at using recording equipment back in the 80s when it was kind of new for like homeowners to have VHS recorders and stuff like that. And these guys put together a pretty fun movie. Both of these movies were pretty good. They were very short. This was put up by MVD Visual. I believe it was only released on DVD, at least at that time. I picked this up a few years ago. I don't know if it has since gotten a Blu-ray release or not. There's a alternate cover. You can flip that around. That's for part 2. I would recommend to check this out if you get time, just to kind of watch it. It's a very fun watch. I thought these kids did really good for the equipment and the budget that they had. And when I say budget, basically they were just shooting on their own time with their own equipment. So there was no budget. But I really enjoyed that. I thought it was great. And I have a couple of snake movies. We have Venomous, starring Treat Williams, who just recently passed away within the last year or two. And he was always kind of a fun, I guess, B-movie hero. He played in a lot of those type of movies. And then we have Python, Casper Van Dien and Robert Englund, a couple of giant snake killer movies. There's Treat Williams right there. See if we can see Robert Englund. He's not featured on the back. But I thought I would pop these in just to kind of show that's a good little twin billing there. The next one is a Norwegian sci-fi horror film, kind of a found footage movie called Troll Hunter. I have this on DVD and I also do have it on Blu-ray. This was a very fun movie. This was a pleasant surprise to me. When I first watched this, I had never heard of it. I didn't know anything about it. Popped it in and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was great. And it's very suspenseful. I thought the way that they barely showed the creatures in this movie, but when they did, it was very effective and it was very creepy. Calling it a monster thrill ride. I really recommend, if you haven't seen Troll Hunter, do check it out. It's really, really well done. Good movie. Let me pull these over here. This is the last of the little stack we'll show, and I'll end the video here. Here's kind of a hillbilly family type backwoods slasher movie in the same vein as like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or The Hills Have Eyes. This is called Farmhouse. It's nowhere near as good as the movies I just mentioned, but it's still a fun watch. It's got this guy here, Steven Weber, his name is. You may recognize his face. Maybe you didn't know his name. It's Steven Weber, and he plays a good villain in the movies that he's in. I think he's a very good actor. Kelly Hu is in here, or Kelly Hu, H-U, Kelly Hu. She's gorgeous. Farmhouse. Here's a sci-fi, kind of an alien, I believe. Is this an alien movie? Maybe not, now that I'm thinking about it. No, this is not an alien movie. I was mistaking it. This is Anatomy. The subject is you. This is the special edition, and it says, it's been a while since I've seen this, so I don't really remember. It says, when Paula, a brilliant, ambitious medical student, is accepted into a prestigious anatomy class taught by a legendary professor, it seems like a dream come true, but her school days soon turn into nightmares when several of her fellow classmates turn up dead in the university's morgue. Puzzled by the bizarre deaths, plural, Paula soon uncovers a secret medical society whose members perform grisly autopsies on human subjects while they're still alive, and is plunged into a chillingly macabre world from which no one escapes to tell the terrifying truth. I'm going to have to give that a rewatch because I'm not really remembering this. And I'm trying to think what movie I was mistaken about. I was thinking this was an alien movie. There was one, maybe you guys can help me. There was an alien movie that had a similar hand like that on the cover, but it was an alien hand. We have George A. Romero's Diary of the Dead. It's not anywhere near as good as the original trilogy, but it is still a very good movie. I enjoy this movie. But if you go into it thinking it's going to be a Dawn of the Dead or a Day of the Dead, you're going to be mistaken, or you're going to be upset about it, or disappointed is the word I'm looking for. But if you go into it just looking at a zombie outbreak type movie, it's more of kind of a found footage. I think that's what kind of threw everybody off, and that's why everybody was, or most people were kind of bitching and moaning about this movie. But I enjoyed it. If you like found footage type movies and you love zombie movies, then I think you'll enjoy this one. Here's a 2-pack. Nothing special about this. Just wanted to show it off. Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice, and Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest. These have Blu-ray releases. Just wanted to show it. Here's a kind of a rare one, low budget. It has Mac 10 and Busy Bone in it, Cutthroat Alley, kind of an urban slasher film. A couple of rappers. I'm not into rap music, so I really don't know anything about Mac 10 or Busy Bone, but I do love slasher movies, so wanted to add that to the collection. I could care less about rap music. And the last one for this video is called Citadel. And this is kind of a secret society type horror movie. It says everything a horror film should be: creepy, atmospheric, and packed full of quality scares. Tommy Cowley lives a quiet life in a decaying apartment complex with his very pregnant wife. The couple is attacked one day by a group of hooded young thugs, and after a shocking act of violence, Tommy is left to raise his newborn daughter alone. So shaken by the events that he's developed extreme agoraphobia. Tommy alternates his days hiding out from imagined threats in his apartment and intense therapy sessions aimed at bringing him back to normalcy. When the same hooded gang, seemingly intent on kidnapping the daughter, begins to terrorize his life again, he's torn between his paralyzing fear and protective parental instincts. So that is it. Let me know what you guys think of this little stack of movies that I showed you. Also, let me know if you'd like me to show more. Got a couple box sets in there and some other stuff. Maybe you guys would be interested in seeing it. If so, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Take care. And as always, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate that. Later.